Still scouring the southeastern U.S., trying to find the circulation for wannabe Dexter. I'll talk about tropical storm possibilities and also how much rain this system will lay down, regardless of whether we get a named storm or not. Also, we do have issues still with pockets of severe weather. We'll take a focus on southeast Wisconsin for this evening, for starters. Also, heavier rain, especially in the Corn Belt, as these next couple of days unfold into early next week. And noticeably missing this summer has been a hot air dome over the central U.S. Well, that's going to start to happen too. I'll show you how hot it will get in the central part of the United States. This is Weather to Watch. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Let's dive right into it. Well, let's go searching for a tropical system. And we know we're going to get a lot of rain on this tropical system that's in the southeast. First of all, we'll take a look at the satellite loop and see if I can identify a circulation pattern here. Actually, I'm kind of hard-pressed to do so. We certainly see a blow-up of thunderstorms east of New Orleans, also in the Florida Peninsula, especially on the west coast, and there in parts of southern Alabama. But I really don't see much of a circulation in there. It probably does exist, but it's very hard to see because of the anvil tops just kind of blowing up and covering up the low-level clouds, which is where that circulation would turn up. So let's take a look at a radar loop, and here we're having a little more luck. I actually do see a broad circulation right here. I believe that the Hurricane Center actually has the center of that a little bit offshore, right around here. And also you can see the results of some of those stronger storms. There are severe thunderstorm warnings in effect north of Tampa right here. And also right around New Orleans, there's that one little storm. And also south of Gulfport down into the Gulf waters. There's another way we can try to find that circulation. That's to look at the actual observations. Now, this is a station model. Real quick primer. Let's just take this one out in the open here. This temperature is 91. The dew point there is 72. That's the actual location of the station. Now, these winds are meant to be flowing along like this. So whenever you see these barbs, the wind is flowing along it like that. And one whole one of these is 10 knots. A half is 5 knots. So you just add them together. Anyway, so that's how to read that. So I'm looking for circulation. So I see winds kind of going here. I see winds a little bit weaker here and pretty strong right here. So I can kind of see a circulation here, although it's disrupted quite a bit again by the thunderstorms themselves. It's not real classic, that's for sure, and it would be hard to pinpoint. Let's take a look and see. This is a 40% chance of tropical storm development in this latest forecast by the National Hurricane Center. Yeah, they have that just off the coast there. And if it goes out over the waters, and geography will help here, because if it just keeps going straight west, it will by definition go over the waters. If it happens to sag a little south, it could pick up a little bit of intensity. The Gulf waters here are very warm, so it would have no problem developing. So that's the look at this. Now, the various consensus of the models do have it actually traveling west. So again, is there a time enough for a circulation to develop? Maybe not. So this will probably be deemed a tropical depression. I doubt we'll get to tropical storm status. Anything is possible. Note that once this does come ashore there in Louisiana, all the models are pretty accurate and agreeing to a certain extent that it curves northward through Louisiana and then curves back through the Mississippi River Valley there. So this could be a big rain producer, and it could contribute to heavier rains that are in the forecast for this area. And I just thought it was curious, too. I look at this here. This is the European models ensemble forecast, and there's a tropical storm product. Now, again, before you get too excited, that percentage right there is 5 to 10. So this is a 10% chance, but I have been seeing consistent little bubbles of activity here, including like if I were to pick July 20, this is the July 26th, this is way out there. But if I pick the 27th, I would actually see this grow a little bit. So there might be some consistency there. And also, I think we talked about this on yesterday's video, but it looks like the Eastern Pacific is going to start acting up again. These are very low probabilities over the Northern Atlantic too. Let's take a look at what the heavy rain is looking like. If it's yellow, it's a slight chance, 15% chance at least, of any rain that occurs getting to the flash flood guidance. So in other words, if they issue a flash flood warning, it would be because that criteria is met. So a chance, a 15% chance. So in a swath from Illinois back to southeast Colorado, kind of all over Wisconsin, Michigan, back over to Pittsburgh. And of course, we're starting to see the effects of this tropical system here with a slight risk in New Orleans. This is just for the rest of today through tomorrow morning. Let's take a quick look at the flood watches in effect. This area has gotten a lot of rain lately. Harrisburg, Allentown, Philadelphia, even Scranton, Altoona, and getting down to Washington, D.C. All those areas are under a flood watch here. I believe that is at least through tonight and tomorrow morning. A flood watch also for Appleton, Green Bay, and Wisconsin Rapids, or up in Wisconsin there. And a flood watch, has been hoisted, of course, for these areas that are expecting the rain from that system, including Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and also Gulfport, Morgan City, all those areas right down to the coast. Now, for Thursday, we're looking at a kind of a stretch down zone of a slight possibility and an increasingly larger zone. And this, I'm sure, on Thursday will actually go up to probably a moderate as soon as they start figuring out exactly where this thing is headed tomorrow. I'm recording this on Wednesday. And in fact, they do this on Friday with another area of slight risk in Iowa, Minnesota, and parts of Illinois. Let's take a look at the total precipitation. This is from the government. This is the quantitative precipitation forecast, and you're seeing over 3 inches in New Orleans, Lafayette, Louisiana, 4.6, and this area, this little bullseye off the shore here, that's picking up. You look down here on the scale, 6, 7, 8 inches of rain. So if that were to move inland just a little bit, that would be a much worse problem. Now this is interesting here. Take a look at the next 5 days, and now I'm focusing my attention on the Corn Belt, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and over into West Virginia and Kentucky. Now, this isn't the exact same intensity, but these are pretty good totals. 2 to 3 inch totals are showing up in this area. And so that's over the next 5 days. In fact, we can outline all these threats area, beginning with the earliest one. This is July 19th. That's the system coming ashore, or at least curving through Louisiana. Next on the list would be this area of heavy rain expected from the 19th through the 21st, from Iowa back over to West Virginia. And then later on, 20th through 23rd, more rain in the Corn Belt. And on 23rd, another little heavy rain pocket in the Dakotas. So we continue to see this trend where the central and eastern U.S. are seeing pretty good little areas of rain, when normally we'd expect to see a high pressure dome here, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that forms and kind of snuffs out rain. Well, that hasn't been the case so far this July. Slight risk of severe thunderstorms in parts of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois, including northeast Illinois and the Chicago area, and also the western area of Michigan on the shore of Lake Michigan. Also, a little maximum area there around Denver up to Cheyenne and down into southeastern Colorado. Interestingly enough, NATOcast is showing a 10% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile radius in southeast Wisconsin. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. And then on the hail side of things, the hatched area here, not so much of a threat in that Wisconsin area, but out here, and they're used to this in Denver, up northward, and just about Cheyenne, that hatched area right there, that's a 10% chance of hail 2 inches in diameter or greater. There are watches flying on this end of things here. So we have a severe thunderstorm watch with a squall line moving through this area, and then a tornado watch with a separate development of storms. Let me show you what I mean here. This is the radar loop. This was taken about 5:30 this afternoon. So this is the one squall line that's associated with the severe weather watch, severe thunderstorm watch. The tornado watch is with this right here, and there was a reported tornado. See that little blip right there? That little purple icon? There it is. That was a tornado reported. So they're thinking with the curvature that's going on here in the low levels that some of these storms could produce a few isolated tornadoes in southeast Wisconsin and maybe into northern Illinois as well. Now we'll move ahead to Thursday. Things settle down a little bit in terms of intensity, but still a pretty broad area of a marginal risk of severe weather. Same goes for up into the Montana area and North Dakota. And then on Friday, remember the rain was starting to move and break out in this area? Well, it might be connected with a little bit of activity, maybe some wind gusts here, small hail on Friday. That's the lowest of the 5 that the SPC talks about. And then going ahead to the NIU outlook for July 23rd through the 29th, we're looking at a pretty good chance of supercells up in the northern plains here in a very climatologically expected area where, but also, this time of year in mid-July, I actually expect that to be calming down a little bit, but it has shown no signs of doing that at all. Here's the national satellite view. We're looking at that swirl in the clouds. You see it spinning right there? That's what's causing the low-level winds to cooperate in a way that may produce tornadoes. We're getting an interesting satellite image. We've got cold air behind here for this time of year and low stratus clouds and fog. We've got got thunderstorms blowing up in the Carolinas. We've got them blowing up there in Ohio. Remember that flood watch is in effect for Pennsylvania. And then here's that ongoing tropical activity here that we're looking at in the southeast. At the 500 millibar level, a little trough of low pressure is moving through the northern plains. There's that also little vorticity center right there, that spinning that I was just showing you, again, causing a little bit of issues up in the Great Lakes states. Heat advisories in effect for tomorrow for eastern Arkansas. This includes Little Rock and Memphis and down into Mississippi. Jackson, Nashville's included in this too. Northern Louisiana as well. And if you take a look at the high temperatures there for Friday, we're looking at upper 90s. Little Rock, 99 degrees. Can't quite read Memphis's reading. It looks like 96 degrees perhaps, but a lot of upper 90s showing up here, and heat index values that probably will go above 105 in a few areas with higher dew points, especially the dew points really congregate in the low Mississippi Delta region there, so that's particularly oppressive a lot of times. And then looking ahead to Friday, high temperatures still pretty toasty in Arkansas, backing off ever so slightly there. Now, if we look down to the 3 to 7 day forecast for hazardous heats, this is the 22nd through the 23rd. Much of the central U.S. is getting under that dome that I was talking about that really hasn't built very much this summer. So that's going to happen. And then a little earlier than that, the 19th through the 21st, still kind of a hazardous heat pocket, including Atlanta, much of Georgia, and almost all of South Carolina. So here's how the temperature profiles go for Thursday. If it's a greener shade, it's a slightly below normal temperature. If it's a yellow shade, orange, a little bit above. So we're starting to see things heat up here in the Missouri area, and then you can kind of see, even though 96 is really toasty on Saturday for Little Rock, it only shows up as being slightly above normal by a few degrees. And the normal high this time of year right in this zone here is right around 90, 91. So that's Saturday. Rain-cooled air there visible there in Dodge City, Goodland, Kansas, Colorado Springs, highs only in the low 80s in some cases there. On Monday, this is when the heat really begins to take over across the high plains. That's that larger area I started to show you there. 100 in Dodge, 101 in Little Rock, 95 in Springfield. That's on Monday. And to cap things off, we'll take a look at the extended forecast that begins after that map. So Tuesday through Saturday, right there over Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, that is where there's a high confidence of above normal temperatures going on there. Now, this map doesn't really tell you what the temperatures will be. It tells you that there's, it looks like about an 80 to 90% probability that they think things will be above normal, but it doesn't address by how far above normal. And then the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook again Tuesday through Saturday of next week. Pretty dry there, so all signs point to a high-pressure dome in the upper atmosphere forming there because the temperatures are going up and the rainfall chances are going down. Still pretty wet in the southeast, at least a semi-good probability of that happening, and pretty wet in northern parts of Idaho, hopefully, and that's actually good news. There's a little bit of drought going on in that part of Idaho and also adjacent areas of Montana. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.